Hey, my name is Seth Meshko, and I'm a 3D artist, and this is the second in a series of little videos on how to do walk cycles for a character coming out of Unity coming out of Maya and going into Unity. So at last we left off, we had this walk cycle. Now, to get I have also already done a turning walk cycle, and I captured the whole thing and then realized it was like so much redundant information. So I didn't. I'm not going to post it, but I will really quickly show you at least how it was done. Okay, so first off, I'm just going to file save as a copy. Today is actually the 29th, and let's say that. Okay. Like I said, I'm just going to show you like sort of like how I did this, and then I'll leave the rest up to your imagination. So we've already got a walk cycle, right? All we need him to do is do a tight little turn as he's walking. Okay. So we're just going to create a circle, okay? And then we're just going to create a motion path on this circle. So we've got to look at the CVs here. This U means it's the start. This box means it's the end, okay, of the curve, okay? So we're going to go ahead and holding down D and V, I'm going to select that, and then I'm sorry, not D and V, D and C, and then I'm going to select that curve and snap it to that curve. That didn't work very well. We'll hold down insert, hit insert, and snap it to this curve. There we go. That worked better. I don't know why. Okay, and then I'm just going to hit W and then hold down X to snap it to the grid, which you're just going to have to trust me is there. And then I think we're rotating it. Oops. Sorry. Selecting that axis and holding down J to spin it around. That looks about right. Okay, and then let me just check those CVs again. Start and yep. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is a good opportunity to talk about something. I do not lock, well, that is to say, I do not hide channels. Although I may want nobody messing with them, and I'll lock them out, I will not hide them because I have to eventually almost always get back into the guts of them, and I don't want to go through like this whole other editor to bring the channels back. Okay, so I'm going to unlock those right now just because it's going to cause me less headache. Now what I'm going to do is select this curve, select this, and by the way, this thing is the root transform for the character. Okay, it moves the whole darn thing around. Okay, in the last video we talked about lean and how you don't want to lean your character from this point. You want him to pivot from this point in terms of y-axis, but the other ones you don't. Okay, and the reason why is because it will get your character all out of whack in Unity when you bring it in, because as it'll lean into a animation, then it cuts to the next animation, it's still coming out of that lean, and so you'll end up with this character running around on the floor eventually. I mention it again here because it's super important. Okay, so your lean is actually underneath this. Okay, and if you wanted to see the structure of it again, this is the main character's control. This is the main thing that it articulates from. All of this stuff exists underneath it. Okay, what I've done is set up the body lean these are all actually FK and not terribly relevant to what's going on here. But this has a ton of controls underneath it. You can see it's all of these controls. These are all these IK controls. Okay, that is what actually is being controlled. You can see rotate Y, rotate Z are being controlled by something. The reason why we want it in this arrangement is such that we can get it to lean, but without changing the orientation of the root joint itself, but rather the hip joint, which is the next thing, next joint right underneath the root joint. For further explanation on that, you can get a hold of me. It's totally crucial though, so I mention it here and in the previous animation as well. Okay, back to what I was talking about. Sorry about that departure. So we're just going to take this, and we're going to take this, and we're going to constrain, and we're going to do a motion path attached to motion path. Okay, fail to connect to the path. Why? What's your problem? Let's try it again. This, and constrain motion path attached to motion path. Okay, it doesn't like it. That's okay. Instead, we're just going to make a null. Okay, so we've got this null. It probably doesn't like it because it's a locator. I don't really know, honestly. We're just going to take that null. So here, let's pop this up. You take that nerve circle. We're going to take this null. We're going to constrain and motion path attached to motion path. Apparently that did work. We will select that null and get its gnomon up just to see what happens, and it does. It goes around the circle in a predictable fashion. Okay. Now here's the thing. It automatically, when you attach a motion path, it automatically goes to the time that you have here, and then it also will do, from one end of the path all the way to the other end of the path. There's no way that this guy's going to make it all the way around to the other side of the path. So what you're going to do is, you're going to keep that null selected. You're going to frame this. First thing is you want the curve to be linear, okay, instead of having that ease in, ease out, because you want them to have an even tread that's not, sort of this wavy thing. It's just got to be an even progression. And then you're going to want to half this end point. Okay, so I don't know why it's 0.01 and not 1, but what you're going to want it, if you wanted it halfway, you're going to have to put 0.005. Okay, then what you should see is it just end up 180 degrees on that other side of that circle. Okay, now from there we're going to take this dude's character controller, or take the null and then the character controller, and then we're going to constrain that parent constraint. Now that should have done a proper thing. Okay, so that's, dude, you could probably get away with that. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but I did go in and tweak all of the feet placement. And if you pay really close attention, you'll see that the foot slides a bit. It's not easy to see from that angle. Let's look at it from this angle. See it slide? Man, it's still actually not that bad. They slide. I did go in there and kind of tweak it a little bit, but whatever. This would be fine for the most part. If you wanted to do this, I doubt many people would notice. Okay, and so you could kind of call that done, or you could tweak the feet and then save out a second clip. All right, so that's actually kind of just the first part of this, but now I want to go over exporting out your character. Okay, so in fact, you know what? Let's open up that scene. We don't need any of this crap that we just did. Don't save now. Okay, so here we go. Okay, friends. So I'm doing a kind of like a retroactive recording of this. I recorded this once and then realized that I needed to be slow and very deliberate about what I'm about to show you, because I'm only going to show it once, and it's very critical. It's super important. And for the rest of the videos, I'm just gonna cut it out. Okay, so this is the baking process. Okay, so first things first, you save a scene off, and let's just call it bake. Okay, you do not want to mess around with your viable scene, okay, because with your viable character, okay, because this is a very destructive process. If you accidentally save over your last file that had all your animations in it and stuff, man, I hope that you had a really recent iteration, because you will have effed yourself very hard. Okay, so let's we got to lay in the animation. Okay, and so we're going to insert the walk straight. Okay, you'll see some extra animations in there. Like I said, I'm like going back and doing this to make sure that it's really solid. Okay, so there's his walk. Okay, and what we need to do is bake out the keys into his skeleton. Okay, I do know that some people like leave IK handles and stuff intact when they export out the character. This is just the animation. I don't think that you would export it out with that junk in it for the animation anyway. But I say the less nodes that you have in your export, the better. It'll probably save you, at least some troubleshooting stuff. So anyway, a little aside on that. So what we need to do is bake out everything in his skeleton, and just because it's super important that you understand this concept, and I want to show the joints and show you what's happening here, particularly with that root joint. Okay, so note that as he walks, that root joint is just traveling down at the origin. Okay, just straight down from the hips. Okay, that is the topmost node. Everything else exists underneath that. This hips are the next highest level of the skeleton, and then so on and so forth. Okay, note also that this will be more relevant later, but just know that this thing is what is translating him around in space in X, Y, or Z axes, and also Y as he turns. Okay, because you do want the rig to reorient as a unit when he's turning in Y. You do not want him to reorient as he's turning in Z or X. And I went over this in detail in another, the previous animation tutorial, but it's super crucial that you understand that. And the reason why is because if he were to lean from his origin, what you would have is root motion driving the character progressively further and further off of its stable up and down axis. Okay, because what happens is that you lean a little bit in like X, or Z, that would be, and then he transitions into the next animation. He doesn't right himself again. He just transitions right into the next animation, and then begins leaning in whatever direction that animation is telling him to lean. But he maintains the orientation of that axis. Now that totally makes sense for Y, okay? Because if he were to like start turning or pivoting or something like that, you would want him to maintain Y from one animation to the next. You would not want him to maintain his orientation in Z or X as he transitions between animations. Hopefully that makes sense. It's super critical, and people screw it up all the time. And I see them ask this same question on like a Unity forum out there, and I tell them what happened, and they're like reject it, because it represents so much work to fix it. Is usually why, but that is the thing, guys. And like, if I hadn't screwed it up, and understood the nature of how I screwed it up, I'd still be making the same mistake. So there we go. How's that for a really detailed explanation? So what I'm doing is I'm holding down the shift key and I'm selecting that root joint, or opening the root joint up, okay? Then I'm just going to drag through the entire hierarchy of that skeleton, and I'm selecting in the channel box translates and rotates, okay? Then I'm going to go to edit, keys, bake simulation, and let's pull up the options box just to show you what's going on. The hierarchy is selected. I could have done below. It would have saved me a step actually, but whatever. I'm in the habit of doing that, so I do it. So selected joints from the channel box is what I'm telling it. You could have had alkeyable, but it's probably going to have some extra junk in there you don't really need, and less curves, better. We don't want like driven channels or any of that nonsense. Would we? Yeah, we do want that. Bake to base animation, that doesn't really matter. Sample by one, that means for each individual frame that you have it set for on your timeline, it's going to bake one key onto the object, okay? We do not want to keep unbaked keys. I can see that there's a red mark right there at 0, which means that I've keyed some joint at 0, and so I don't want that. I want it to just write right over it. Okay, so keep unbaked keys is off. Spark curve bake, man, I've never had good results with that. What that would try to do if we had it selected is it would try to have as few keys as possible, but like I said, I don't think it really works that well. Disable implicit control should be on, because this thing is driven by set driven keys and IKs and stuff like that, and we want those to be null after we bake it out. And then go ahead and have Unreal Rotation on, and that would just be, sometimes IKs can cause like the joint to flip around 180 degrees or 360 degrees, and it does it in a single frame, and you usually can't see it, because usually it happens in a single frame. Every once in a while you'll see it happen over a few frames and it'll wig out, but I built this rig, I'm pretty confident that that's not happening. I'm going to have it on anyway just in case it happens over a single frame and you can't tell, okay, because you might see it in Unity. Unity animates it faster usually than 30 frames per second, whereas in Maya you're only seeing for each individual frame with no in between. Okay, ready? Bake. Okay, so it's going to just play through that. It baked out as a key on every single joint in there. Okay, you see they're all red, and let's just pick a joint in there. Oh, that's part of his rig. Let's just pick that. That's the root node. You can see that there's a key on every frame, and if we opened up our graph editor, we would see what it looks like. Okay, that's exactly what we would expect it to look like. It's an even, steady progression of keys in the Z axis over time. Okay, yeah, that's it. Okay, well, that's not it. That's all you have to know about baking it. Okay, so back over in our outliner. Okay, so we've got all this junk in the scene, and we're going to delete it out. Okay, so select all of that stuff, and I know the only thing that I'm concerned with is root and skin, and I've structured my scene that way, okay, intentionally, so that all the other crap in this scene is independent of those two things. And I would suggest that when you're at this stage, or before you've got to this stage, that's what you do. You separate these things out. So you've got a node that contains your skins, and you've got a node that contains your root is just in the root of your file. Okay, and then everything else that's in the scene is is expendable. Okay, so I'm going to delete all that crap, including the camera that we were just looking in, which is why it reoriented the scene there. Okay, and then also rigs, body controls was just something that was left over in here, and then unused skin. Okay, so I know I have a bunch of skins in here that are used for baking and all kinds of stuff. I just know that they're trash. I'm going to get rid of them. Okay, I also, because this is the animation file, it's not the file that I need for his actual character as it is imported into the thing that you actually see. This is just an animation. I'm going to go ahead and take out LOD0 because it's a very dense mesh. It's not even visible in this scene. We don't need it. Okay, we also don't need his eyebrows. Frankly, we don't need any of this stuff. It could just be this is also, that's the original skin. All we need is Faux Hawk and Man skin LOD1. We don't actually even need those. The only reason I include them is so that I have a character to look at in the animation rather than just joints. Okay, but these are superfluous. The only thing that we actually need is the skeleton itself. Okay, so know that. Alright, so now that we've only got those two things in the file, what we're going to do is optimize the scene size. And optimize scene size, by the way, I've got absolutely everything checked in there. Okay, we're going to optimize it. It's going to ask us if we think that's really okay to do, and we are going to do that. Okay, because again, we've named this something different. We've saved off a copy that is a trash file. We know that it's whatever you do to it, we don't care how destructive it is. Okay, we've still got animation now, but the scene is clean. Okay, now what we're going to do is select these two items. We're going to go to File, Send to Unity, and by the way, you could just do an export with this. It would be fine. You could export the selection and choose your FBX. This is my binary. You would go down to FBX, and then it would give you all of these options. Okay, this is, and do the most current version of the FBX exporter, just so you know. Okay, so you can do that. You can also go File, Send to Unity, and the only difference here is that Unity allows you to set a path. Maya allows you to set a path to Unity. Okay, so by setting Unity project, I've already done that, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So send to Unity, send selection. Okay, it's automatically got my Unity project in here. That it just saves you a couple of steps of navigating to the proper folder. Okay, and then you're going to name it. I've already done this. I'm not going to write over it. Just it wouldn't actually matter if I did, but I'm not going to, just in case it does matter. So walk straight is what I called it. Okay, and then I would export selection, and it would be done. Okay, so that's it. And then I'll pick this back up and we'll move forward with the next phase of this project. Okay, and I'm just speeding this up now because it's just the same process that we just did. So it's going to go really rapidly, and we'll slow it back down as soon as we get to the end of the redundancy. Again, just to recap, I'm just baking the animation out, optimizing the scene size, and exporting it out. And that's about all there is to it. Okay, cool. This is probably running at normal speed again, so I doubt it'll even narrate that last part. Okay, so let's open our scene and let's get that going again. Open and don't say. Okay, now this is kind of this is the character itself as it will come into Unity. You do not want any animations on it. As a matter of fact, you just want it to be in T-pose. So in our Windows Animation Editors Tracks Editor, I'm going to get that out of there, and I have previously created a T-pose. Okay, and so T-pose is crucial. It should have been the pose that you bound your character in Maya. Most like controls and stuff like that, particularly with the HIK controller, are like made to kind of function in this this pose. So you should bind it this way. This should be its neutral position. It should be able to be returned to this position with ease, and I make a clip specifically so that I can do that. Not only are all of the IK handles and everything straight and aligned with no movement, all of his extra things like his facial animations and things, or facial controls and things like that, are also all in the T pose. You want this to be an undeformed character as it exits the Maya and goes into Unity. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. Okay, cool. And so just to speed this up again, I am doing the same thing that I've done before. I'm just baking out all the keys on the rig, and then deleting all of the rig, and then optimizing scene edits and exporting out. All right, so now we should let's go ahead and get into Unity. Okay, and it's gonna import all the stuff into the project. Okay, so this is my project insofar as it has been developed. I'll show you. I'll just give you a little rundown. So, like I was saying, I've been optimizing this. When I started getting these enemies, these guys are like enemies, and they're just like running her down. She was gonna beat the crap out of him, but then my frame rate dropped really low. As a matter of fact, you can see it right now. It's at like 10 frames per second. Pretty darn slow. At full resolution, if you make it smaller, the resolution or the frame rate jumps a lot. But whatever the case, it's largely due to those dudes being so dense. She's pretty well optimized at this point. They are not. Okay, so I'm moving them, I'm making them lighter, and then I'm bringing them back in. And fortunately, I learned this hard way on her, but I didn't do all of the animations first. So I didn't, get that character totally done, and then bring it in and realize it was super high res. I am playing a little smarter this time and getting it into Unity as fast as I can with as minimal of work as I can to see if there's problems, and I expect there to be some. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's make a new scene just to have something clean to work in here, and we'll go ahead and file save scene as into my scenes, and I'll just call this man player build. Okay, not super critical, it's gonna get deleted anyway. Alright, and let's go ahead, we'll create a 3D object, what am I doing? Yeah, I want a plane. Duh. Okay, so that's just something to put your character on. The character will just snap onto them. It's important that it has a mesh collider, which it comes in with by default. Okay, let's go into our assets and then go back into our characters. Man, models. Okay, so this is that last thing that we exported out, this T-pose. Okay, it doesn't need any animations. We will make it a humanoid and apply that. And there's nothing to do with the avatar definition either. So you can just leave that alone if your character's in the same configuration as mine. What are the odds? Pretty slim. And then that's it. Okay, so this guy is done as far as the import is concerned. Now we're going to do a ton of stuff to him now. Okay, so the first thing you may have seen is that it automatically created an LOD node here, and if you get away from him, you'll see that switch from LOD 0 to LOD 1. Okay, and how it knew to do that is in here. These are actually named LOD 0, LOD 1. Okay, oh, those are the eyes. That's fine. Yeah, that it'll automatically make an LOD if you do that. And it's probably not set up quite right, but we'll get to that later. All right. So we just want to test this guy's animation. That's the main reason we're here. Okay. So why don't we start off with an animation controller? Okay. So we'll create an animator controller and just name this man player animation controller. I guess we'll have it the same naming convention as the other ones that are in it. Alright, and so we're going to take that, and the first thing we'll do is just drop that animation controller into animator. Okay. Now that's kind of set up. We're gonna need some other stuff on this, physics and rigid body, and add component physics and capsule collider. Okay, you'll see that capsule collider appeared over here, and we'll just want to go ahead and dial that in at a height of 2, I think, and then you'll want its center to be higher so that it's in the center. And then we're just looking for the bottom of that controller to be right at the bottom of his feet, and that looks pretty good. We may see some penetration once we start like moving him around. But I think that's okay for now. Yeah. You know what? We might as well get it over as a 2.1. There we go. That looks good. And seems like it's a little low now. It's underneath his feet. We'll go 1.05. That's pretty good. Okay, great. Cool, man. Okay, so getting rolling here. What should we do now? Well, we're going to have to start scripting soon enough. So let's go ahead and add a component. Let's go with a new script named man player character controller. Cool. Okay. Let's just double click that to open it up. Okay, cool. I have some other stuff open in here from the last time, and I'm actually going to be probably copying and pasting a lot of stuff out of here from the other player controller. But we'll see if we can get kind of, at least for the purposes of this video, we'll just write out something new. All right. So let's start. we're going to want a reference to the animation controller, and you know what, I will just copy that right out of here, because I am not super savvy with coding. I will be the first to admit I'm getting better, but I rely very heavily on copying and pasting. Okay, put it in assets. We're going to want to save that somewhere else later, but that's okay for now. Just leave it be. Okay, so this is now, if we save that and we get back over here, we're going to see that it's given us a spot for an animator. Okay. All right. So now back over in here, we're going to want the start method to find that animator. And again, I'm just going to copy and paste that from my script that I've already done. It'll be in my start function as well. There it is. Okay. So we're creating a variable called animator, and then we're populating that variable in the start function with this thing's animator. Okay, whatever is attached to whatever the script is attached to. Okay. Now, there's a few different ways that we could do this. I am using a controller. We will eventually want it to also work with WSAD, but for now we're just going to worry about this character working with my controller. So what we'll do is we're going to need a few more variables. So we'll I'll just go ahead and write these out because it's pretty easy. Private float, let's call it direction. Oh, and we will have speed. Cool. All right. So in our update function, we're going to want to just go ahead and I'm just going to copy and paste this in from another file that I had open. So what we're just saying is direction is equal to the input.getAccess of horizontal. Okay. Now, if you want to know where that resides, it's in edit, project settings, input. Okay, and in here is horizontal. Okay, in vertical, and that is associated with left and right arrows, A, D, and but most importantly joystick axis and then x-axis. Now, this will not actually pull A and D to my knowledge. I don't think that it will work. We'll check in a second. I don't think it does. I think you actually have to specify A and D by using the get key thing, but we'll address that in a moment. Okay, so back in here, direction, speed, so horizontal, get vertical. Okay, sweet. Then we're going to need to put that into our animator. All right, so let's just go ahead and save this for now. Let's bring our animation window back up. Window. Animator. Not animation, but animator. We'll just tear that off. Okay. And if we select that guy, it'll just load it up. Alright, so now we'll get into some animations. Okay, so have we, did I create these? No. Okay, so here we go. Walk straight, import settings. Okay, so model, that's everything there should be just fine. Rig, we will want it to be humanoid of There should be no changes to this thing's avatar. We do want to create some animations, okay? So this is just going to be walk straight, okay? And so it's a 32 frame animation, right? But it loops at 32 is 1, right? Or I mean 32 is 0 and 0 is 32, right? So you'll see a little hitch in there. It's just barely detectable, but we'll want to drop that down to 31 to get a nice even loop, okay? We will loop time, and then what else is going on in here? Motion will be derived from root transform, okay? Root transform. Is that correct? Possibly. I don't know. Since I'm going to go with root. It had 2 there. Root transform, I'm thinking is like this most top level thing. It might be the same thing. Honestly, whatever. We're just going to go with root because that's what it's named. Alright. Oh, let's go ahead and do this now. Okay, so same deal. The rig is a humanoid and apply. Okay, so this is the walk turn one. We will, he's turning left on this one, so we'll go walk, turn left, and then actually let's go turn tight and then left. The reason why it's a tight turn is because with the girl's animation, with the female character's animation, I actually had 2 different animations, a turn and a tight turn. To be honest, this is an experiment to see if I actually need that intermediary turn, or if I can just have straight and tight turn and leave it at that. That's my suspicion, since it blends between the 2 anyway. Alright, loop it, and root motion is that root node. Okay, should have this guy just turn around in a circle. Looks fantastic. Okay, let's make another one. And this one's going to be walk, turn, oops, RN, gosh darn it, yeah, right. I always do that. Ooh, I'm getting tired. Sorry guys. CHT, Lord God Almighty. Alright, so this one's going to be 31 as well. Loop time, mirror. Okay, so awesome. All you have to do is animate this on one side, bring it into Unity, hit mirror, and it flips it around perfectly so that it does the exact same thing on the other side, which is awesome. Root. Okay. It already figured that out for us. We're going to apply that junk. Okay, cool. Now we've got some animations to drop into our animator. I'll tell you what, I'm actually, I'll just take, for now, let's go to models and let's take this guy and let's go ahead and make an animation here, and let's call it T pose. And that's fine. Start. We'll loop it, and I guess we'll have it have a root transformation, but I don't think that matters. Apply that, and that's actually going to be our idle for now, okay? Because we don't have an idle, so we'll just drop T pose in here, and that's going to be our base, okay? That'll be what he enters into from the start. Man, and then animations, and then we've got to drop this in there, and these 2 in there. Okay, cool. blend tree at this point. No. Yeah. Yep. Sorry. Okay, so instead of doing that, we're going to make a blend tree. So create or I forgot how to create a state from new blend tree. Ooh. Okay, so actually in this blend tree, what we're going to have are the walks. Okay, so sorry, my bad. Just started dropping stuff in there without thinking what I was going to do. All right, so low density animations. Get the right thing. Oh yeah, okay. So again, we'll drop. Gotta have that selected, and then we will. Sorry, the add motion field, okay, and then we will drop that stuff on in there. Let's lock that for a sec, and then we will go into our animations, and we will drop walk straight into the middle, walk turn left here, walk turn right here. Okay. Now we need some parameters. So let's go ahead and make them. Okay. Oh wait, not layer. Okay, just delete that. Yeah. Parameter. Okay, so blend was apparently just created to have something. We're gonna have speed. Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, speed. Yeah, speed. We'll add a float called speed and a float called direction. Shun. Okay, cool. So now we're gonna have to feed these values so that they can be utilized here. However, we could probably just set it up for now. In our blend tree, we will say that this will be direction. Okay, and this make a transition will be speed. We gotta double click that, I guess. What's going on here, man? Oh, I've locked this. Alright, so we're going to do speed. Speed is greater than 0.01. Make it 0.1. Cool. Alrighty. So I guess here we'll just go ahead in here and we'll just kind of test this. We'll just push play, and then we will just kind of switch directions here. Nice. See that goofy action right there? It was like, I don't know, just whatever. That's happening because of a little something in our animation. So let's go back into animations. We'll go into low density animations, and it has to do with the right. Oh, sorry. That's not where you do that. Stop. Why are you doing that? So right turn, this needs to be offset by 0.5. Okay. And apply. So what that just means is that he started off on the wrong foot and the translation was awkward. Okay. So we'll go ahead and play. Oh, wait, no. That's not what we're doing. We'll play here. Okay, and we'll see if that cleared things up. What? Well, something's not right there. That looks weird. It's got two animations. I turn off mirror? No, it's still there. It's fucking right. The F, man. Okay, you should be walking right. Oh, weird. Okay, maybe I'm going crazy. I don't know. It's interesting. Got that little hitch in there. We do have the feet aligned correctly, but let's look. That looked to me to be the walk straight. Do we have it cycling? We do have it cycling. Let's see if we see that little hitch here. Yeah. Oof, that's nasty. Okay, good to know. So that's going to have to be addressed. Man, it might have been still in the Maya file. I'll have to check. It probably was. That's really strange. If I just lengthen it out to 32, that would... Oh, wow, it's less, but it's still there, a little hitch. That's unfortunate. That's okay. That's why we test. Make sure everything's going well. Okay, cool. So here we go. Now, when we push play, this guy should just be standing in T-pose without... Yeah, let's go ahead and play that. Should be standing there with nothing going on. Okay, that's fine. Let's get back into our script. Whoa. I don't know what all that's about. Oh, it's really scary. This is what we're looking for. Okay, so now we have to send the animator some stuff. I'm just going to come just full on steal it from here because I'm super lazy. Yeah, this is close enough. So it's actually going to be set float, and we will call it direction. And we will make it equal to direction with a small d. Okay. Oh. Small a. Okay, cool. Speed with a small s and speed speed with a capital S. Okay, which corresponds to this speed and direction. Okay. So what is it saying? It's saying on the animator, set the float direction, capital D, to equal to direction, which is getting input access from horizontal. Okay. so on and so forth. We'll go ahead and save that. We'll see if that works. Push play. Yeah. Uh-oh, what's happening? Oh man, he fell down. So we're able to move, but what? So that is due to our rigid body not being frozen. Freeze rotation in X and Z. Okay. So the only axis that you want him to pivot in is Y. That's the only one that we've controlled for. And that's fine. This has to do with the. You might. Man, I don't know. Did you actually freeze Y too? Anyway, this is what we're looking for, right? It's rolling around in a circle. It's doing his shtick. Okay. Now he never comes out of the walk cycle. That we have set no conditions for that to happen, which is fine. It's all good. Just as an experiment, I've never actually done this. I've never frozen Y. I wonder if it prevents him from circling around. No, it doesn't. Apparently what that does is, I would imagine anyway, is that if he were to be hit from like the side, it might spin him around like a top. We'll leave it frozen. But we would want the rigid body clearly to affect his position, so if he got blown from any side, we would want it to affect his position, right? But not necessarily his rotation. You know, and this could probably be coded for, like, if you actually did want him to take, like, a big, huge, like, tumble head over heels and stuff, you could probably control that. I've never have, though. Okay? That's actually where we're going to end this. And actually, you know what? In the very next thing, I'm going to fix a couple of things that I saw. Okay, so one is that LOD, here, let's change this LOD range. We're going to clamp it down way more so that we just get back a little bit and it flips. Oh, it's not really there anymore. I think I must have already fixed it. Or have I? Or have I? Let's look at the walk. It's got the meshes overlapping, so it's really hard to tell. Anyway, there was like in the LOD one, there was like a weird sort of normal thing going on, but I think when I deleted deleted that history on that character's skin, I think I fixed it, so maybe that's not cool anymore. Alright, but that hitch in the walk cycle certainly is, so that will be the next thing that I'll look at, and I doubt I'll make a video for it. I'll probably just fix it and bring it back in. I don't know, I might. But anyway, signing off for tonight. Thanks a lot for watching this if you have watched it. Get a hold of me at 3danimationartist.com. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.